What's up? I'm the Empathetic Chicken, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my deck and alternate reality oracle. I'll be honest, like, this self-promotion deal is like super hard for me, and I'm pushing through the resistance right now. And I was just watching a video by my friend Allie on her channel Tarot, and she agreed to do like a sharing video of my decks, like back when I first launched this deck the first time, back in 2023, or I don't even remember what year. It was 1 year. But yeah, the first time I launched this, the campaign didn't succeed, and it was with my other oracle deck. So now I've since launched the Chicken Transition Oracle successfully, and now like this one was kind of left. So that's what I'm currently promoting, and this is all I have, like, as far as the deck. It's just a sample, kind of tattered from use over the last 2 years. But anyway, I was watching that video by Allie, and just to sort of, like, I guess give myself some motivation. And I don't know, like, honestly, like today, I mean, I'm not going to get into a whole like spiel, but like today and like this week hasn't really been the easiest for me emotionally. So I don't know, just showing up here feels like something better than just dwelling and thinking. So that's what I'm doing, and I figure why not just kind of like come on here and share and see what happens. Sorry, my cat just like is invading. But yeah, I don't know, I don't have a direction, but I'll just show the cards, and then hopefully that'll guide me, because I feel sort of like lost as far as what to do with myself right now too. Like, whenever, I think that's why I like cards, because like whenever I'm kind of emotional or like struggling, it's like hard to come out of that, and just having something like a focus other than like the struggle you're facing can really be helpful. And come on, Pepper, go somewhere, please. You're messing me up. So anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna do that right now, because it's what I do when I don't know what else to do. So without further ado, I'm gonna shut up and say something, or show something. So I'm sorry about the mowing noises and the cicadas and all that, by the way. It's like super loud. I don't even know how like audible my voice is on here. But don't be your own worst enemy, which is like probably the biggest issue that I deal with, and why big reason why I made this deck. Because basically my mind is like my worst enemy, and it tries to like twist things to make me like horrible. And I don't know if I'm probably not the only one, but it feels like I'm the only one a lot. But I made this for the fellow people who have horrible inner critics and need reminders that they're not horrible. And you know, you can't always trust, like, I don't know, like, I advocate for like trusting in yourself, but I don't think that all those voices in your head, like, I don't know, you can't always trust them, because they will lie. Like, especially if they're not even like your voices. And I probably sound like a nut or something, because I'm talking about voices in my head. But you know what I'm saying? That like inner monologue. And even if you hear voices, who cares? Like, it's fine. We only think it's weird and crazy because of like the constructs of society. Because like before I even started this reading, a card fell out and it was like normal as a construct. And I was like, yeah. So anyway, that was probably for right now while I'm like being self-conscious. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. Mind over matter. So while I'm at it, I just posted a reading, and it was based on a spread called Mind Over Matter that I came up with. So I don't know, maybe somebody wants to check that out. But it's basically about like using your mind to kind of rise above the issues that you face, because like we do have that option. Like, even if we can't like physically escape like a situation or a problem, like our minds are capable of like holding a different perspective and shifting things internally versus like, you know, externally. There's freedom that can be found in our minds, even if, sorry, there's a cicada up there. I was like, where? I saw one earlier and I was like trying to see where he landed. But I hear like the flutter. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Nothing is personal, which is like super hard to remember when you're feeling like triggered, or whatever the word you want to use is, because it feels so like personal. Like personally, right now I'm struggling with some issues with another person, and it feels like their actions are like a dagger in my freaking heart. But I know, like, if I stop myself and like move beyond the pain, like I can see it clearly and know that it's probably not personal. It's the way that I'm interpreting it. And I'm not saying it's all on me, but I'm saying like we all respond in our own ways, like based on how we've lived and like the things we've been exposed to. And it's like the way that I make sense of things is not the way that this person makes sense of things. So it's natural that our responses and like how we interpret each other is gonna vary. And I don't know, just because I interpret a certain thing to mean that I don't matter, it doesn't mean that that's in the other person's head. So yeah, deep down, I know nothing is personal, even if I don't want to accept it in those moments where I'm just freaking out and feeling all the feelings. Don't let yourself down. So I don't know, I feel like these are just supposed to be like little nudges to remember that it's okay, like you're okay, like even when it doesn't feel okay. Like, I'm not saying everything's fine, but I'm saying everything's fine. That probably makes no sense, but I'm saying, like, just remember whenever you feel those kind of like personal attack feelings, like, don't let yourself down by like staying in that train of thinking, like, because if something's affecting you to that level to where it hurts, like, internally or, like, emotionally, I feel like that's, like, a line of thinking that's not for you, like, and that's why it hurts so much, because it's telling you that it's, like, yeah, your body is, like, literally rejecting it. I don't know, that might sound weird. But, yeah, I just want to emphasize just treating ourselves better. Like, if you're someone who struggles with doing that, like me. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Bring your own closure. So this is a card that I created because I have been in situations, obviously, where it felt like I couldn't get the closure that I wanted from the certain situation or person I was dealing with. And it's like the more you kind of hang on to like needing that, like the more you're gonna feel unresolved, like it's unresolved, and you can't, like, I don't know, it's pretty obvious, you can't like force people to do what you want them to do. So sometimes the only option is like bringing your own closure. So like, I don't know, for example, I'm not gonna go on a whole long ramble here, but like there was a situation where I had feelings for somebody and they didn't really feel the same way. And even though like it was kind of implied that they did, so I was kind of led on in a way, or at least in my head. I'm not saying that's how it was, because there's two sides to every coin and all that, but anyway. But I just kind of felt like kind of misled and annoyed that like I felt led on, and then I never got like the closure that I felt like I needed, because it's like, okay, like I'm convinced of this thing, but then like you're one way this minute and then another way the next, and I just feel like I can't like make sense of it, like I can't get what I need out of this, because like the other person isn't reciprocating. So like eventually like you just have to accept that like there is no resolution from something that you can't control. So I say that because in the end, I just ended up kind of like writing a letter and just expressing everything that I felt about it and just accepting the situation for what it was. And I know that probably doesn't feel helpful, but I think like reclaiming your power to stop giving it away like is something. Like stop letting outside people and situations make you feel so powerless. Like that is empowering yourself. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm just gonna keep moving on. But yeah, basically sometimes there's just situations that remain unresolved, and unfortunately, like, you just gotta learn to live with it, but you've always got your back. Gratitude is satisfaction. So yeah, I just kind of think, or I've just found in my own life, the more that I've kind of stopped and like looked at the things that I have versus like focusing on the next thing, like that's helped me to feel more content. And just like shifting that mindset to like say I want something, like, I don't know, say I want like my business to be like more successful or whatever. Like I could sit here and be like, oh, it's just not working out, my campaign's failing, which by the way, I have those thoughts a lot. But I'm okay, like I'm not gonna die if it fails again. But yeah, I could sit here and focus on that, which admittedly I think it happens, and like don't beat yourself up over the times like when you fall into that trap. But instead, like I can just as easily like shift my focus to like, okay, well, you had a successful campaign the last time you launched a deck, and there are people who buy that deck and thank you for it, and like it connects with people, and like maybe it's not like huge, you know, like some other decks, but there are people who resonate. So like the more I focus on that, like the less room there is to just dwell on like, oh, well, I'm just not successful, I'm a failure, nobody cares about my stuff, blah blah blah. So anyway, that was probably TMI, but moving on. Don't assume. So yeah, that kind of goes in line with what I was saying earlier about the nothing is personal. A lot of times, like in relationships and stuff, we sort of respond because we've assumed something about the other person, and we just assume that we know what they're thinking or what their actions meant. And I don't know, we don't always like clarify. Like, I mean, I know it's hard to like stop in the middle of like an emotionally driven reaction. Like, I know it's hard to interrupt that and just like clarify things, but like if we could learn not to assume so much, I think a lot of like the controversy and stuff that goes on in relationships could be not like eliminated, but just kind of like maybe not as, I don't know, it could be just like alleviated a little bit, and things wouldn't maybe like escalate. That's the word I'm trying to say. But yeah, you have the option of like kind of being like, okay, I'm kind of taking this way, but what else could it mean? Like, what did you really mean when you said that, or when you did that, you know? Because you're not in somebody else's head and they're not in yours. So sometimes it's good to kind of like take a breather and think a little bit. Waiting for them to change keeps you stuck. So that goes along with that whole closure thing. Like, the more you focus on like wishing somebody was different and wishing they would give you what you want or be a certain way, like it's just the more you're kind of holding yourself back, because ultimately you can't really control somebody else, and the only thing you can really do is look at yourself and understand why you're seeking what you're seeking. And I feel like that alone has some movement in it. Like if you're feeling stuck about something because you're not getting like the closure or the resolution or whatever that you need, I think there's work to be done on your end as far as like what would having that mean for you, or like, you know, it's just, I think it's important to understand our motives and like why we feel like we need things, because for me personally, like with the relationship, or not relationship, but the thing where I like the dude, it's like I just felt like I needed that closure so that I didn't feel crazy, or like so I didn't feel like it was something wrong with me, you know. I just wanted that validation. But if I'm honest, like why do I feel like I need that from another person? Like that's something I gotta evaluate within myself, of like, why don't I feel good enough without someone else telling me that, you know? And I'm not saying I should like judge myself for that, but just, I think it's good to just course correct and like realize when you're sort of being mean to yourself, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making sense. Mosquitoes. Feelings aren't shameful. So that was another, like, I feel like this deck was created at a time when I was going through like a lot of shifts and just kind of experiencing a lot of new things with like interacting with people, because I just haven't been the most social person. I've struggled with that throughout life, and I was at a job where I kind of like thought I made some new friends, and I was kind of more like vocal and kind of involved like with the people I work with, which was different. And then it sort of like ended badly or whatever. Like it's that time where I got fired from my job and stuff, and I don't know, it was just like a really illuminating time for like some self-reflection and stuff, and I'm getting eaten alive, but I'm gonna continue. So yeah, like at the time, this kind of like interaction with this person, it made me feel really vulnerable and shameful about like my feelings and like being open, because basically like, I don't know, there was a lot of like ghosting going on, and like, I don't know, just, it's like in person things would be one way, and then like in other situations it'd be like completely opposite, and I felt like I was crazy. So I just wanted to put this one in there as a reminder, like there's nothing wrong with like feeling things and having emotions. Like, yeah, so that's basically that. You hold the key to your own cell. So I think that's pretty much another way to sum up this deck, is just like trying to remind people of their own power. And this is actually like a saying, or it's just something that my brother told me a long time ago, and I can't really remember like the context of the conversation we were having. Like I think I remember, but I'm not going to share that right now. But I don't know, just something he said that just always stuck with me. And it's just like, it's hard to accept it sometimes, but it is so true. Like, I think that's why so many people struggle, is because like it's hard to take accountability and like own up to how you're living and like what choices you're making that contribute to the experience that you're having. And I'm not saying like just blame everything on yourself and, you know, I don't know, I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't be accountable. I'm just saying like, if you want to free yourself, like you have to own up to the things, like the ways that you trapped yourself basically, and, you know, unlock your freaking your cell. Yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna go through all the cards, and I'm probably gonna stop here in a minute, but let's see, a few more. Be humble or be humbled. That's another huge one that I learned prior to creating this deck, because anytime you feel like you're too good to, I don't know, it's weird, because I never thought that I was being prideful at my old job until after like I got fired and stuff, and I realized, geez, I was really being prideful. But let me explain. I feel like I don't really need to explain because I shouldn't care, but just for context or whatever, I was working at this job and I was really pretty good at what I did, and I worked really hard, And I think where the pride crept in is like I just felt really burnt out and like overworked and underappreciated. And I just felt like I started to develop sort of this attitude of resentment. And I was just like, you know, they'd be stupid to fire me, like, because I do all this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not proud of this, by the way, but I'm human. And I have to live with that. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I don't really care what anybody else thinks, because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to be meaner to myself than anyone else would anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, like, basically that was my mindset. And then, like, finally, there came a day where I did get fired. And I'm not going to say that I deserved it, but I definitely don't like the attitude that I had. And even, like, I mean, I can give myself grace and say, like, yes, I was probably not treated fairly in a lot of ways, and that's kind of what contributed to the resentful and prideful attitude. So I'm not going to say it's all me or them, because, like, there are other things as far as, like, how I interact, and, like, you know, it's like, it's interdependent. Like, I can't really separate the two. But anyways, like, I just think if you're humble, like, I'm sorry, my freaking battery. I just think it's important to remain humble, because, like, anytime you think you're on a pedestal, you're gonna get freaking knocked down, because at the end of the day, we're all human. There's always somebody better or worse. And I mean, I'm not trying to like measure things, but you know what I'm saying? There's always people at different stages and like different places. So like, you're not like irreplaceable. I mean, I'm not saying you're nothing and you're stupid or like not worth anything, but I'm just saying, like, don't let the stuff that you are good at, like, go to your head, because yeah, like I said, it's not like they can't just replace you, and they will, and they did me. So yeah, I'm gonna shuffle and just pull a last one. I don't know. I feel like I'm just like getting too distracted by these mosquitoes. But to end this reading, I don't really know if this was relevant or helpful or anything, but just kind of wanted to show up because I just love cards and how they just kind of like take my focus off of the stressors and stuff. And I'm not saying like avoid your problems, but sometimes I think you do need sort of like a little break from the stress. And it helps me to get away and just kind of like focus my mind and remember that I'm not terrible. Things aren't like completely like unsalvageable, even if they feel that way a lot. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. One last card. This is not going to be reading. Okay. Make space. So yeah, I feel like it's hard to accept that when you just like get used to how things are, but like if you want something different, like sometimes you do have to like let go of some things. So if you're feeling overburdened and like you want change, maybe instead of like chasing down the change, you can just like make room for it, you know? So I don't know. Anyway, I'm just gonna listen to the bottom of this deck and just be right now and probably get out of these mosquitoes. But if you like this deck, it's funding on Kickstarter for like 8 or 9 more days. I don't know. It's at like 30%, so I don't want to be negative and say it's probably not gonna make it, but it might not. And I'm not too torn up about it at the moment. But yeah. Anyway, I still have a deck. Help me. So, I mean, I'd like for it to help other people, like, obviously, which is why I put my stuff out there. But, anyway, I'm learning to just shed these, like, expectations that I put on myself to, like, get external validation. And just because my project fails on Kickstarter or whatever fails, it doesn't mean that I'm worthless and useless and that it didn't matter that I made this, because to me it mattered and I needed it to process my experiences. So there's always value somewhere. Like, you just gotta be willing to look for it. So yeah, anyway, friends, thanks for spending this time with me. I'm sorry it's so dark, but yeah, I got carried away. All right, until next time.